Isn't this a remarkable time to be alive? I mean, we're participants in the most rapid advancement in human potential in history. Billions of people lived before us. Billions will live after us. But here we are at this pivotal time in the history of humankind. The birth of this period is turbulent, but it's full of opportunity. And that's been true of all periods of great change in the past. A few years ago, I began to research a question that I had never adequately answered for myself. And I wanted to share that research with you, and hopefully you'll find it interesting. It's really about how did we get to where we are? And how in this time of such great innovation is this occurring now? You know, for most of human existence, life was short and brutal and just on the edge of survival from cold and heat and hunger and predators and disease. And yet, here we are in this time of incredible prosperity, the most prosperous time in history. And I know it's hard to believe it, but the safest time in history. So what lifted humanity from subsistence to prosperity? I studied the question thoroughly. I studied, what people call the arc of history in depth. I spoke with economists and anthropologists and historians and philosophers, and also spoke to well-informed people today. I wasn't surprised that I found an answer, or even what the answer was so much. I was just surprised that it was so clear. It was so overwhelming. And I'd like to share those findings with you. The first is that innovation has lifted humanity more than anything else and will in the future as well. More than great leaders, more than well-meaning people or causes. And that doesn't denigrate those efforts, and we should always have the best leaders we can find, and well-meaning people are important, as are their causes. But it does emphasize the power of innovation to change and improve our quality of life. It is, in fact, the lifeblood of societal progress. Secondly, innovation is a manifestation of what distinguishes us as humans. You ever ask yourself, what makes us human? Well, there's certain things we know for sure. First of all, creativity. Second, intuitive leaps, that we don't just go logic like a computer does from A to B linearly, but we can make an intuitive leap that's often accurate. And these things are what make us human, a few of what makes us human. Now, these qualities probably always existed in humans. They just lacked the technology at the time to do some of the things we can do today. And understanding what makes us human is an essential thing we all need to understand. Because if we're going to integrate with intelligent automation in a way that enhances our humanity rather than degrades it, we have to know what our humanity is, what makes it up. Third, these human qualities that I just mentioned, that's the fire that lights innovation. To solve problems, to push boundaries, to overcome the words can't be done. It causes innovators to double down. Fourth, innovation and change does not come in incremental linear steps. It comes in bursts like we're experiencing right now. And this isn't the first one. The Renaissance, the Enlightenment, and three prior industrial revolutions were also examples of a period of great change, but nothing like what we're experiencing now. This is going to be much faster and much more profound in how it alters our lives, our work, the way we learn, and even how we evolve. This will be the age of expanding human potential. Fifth, These periods of accelerating change, like we talked about, the Renaissance and Enlightenment, others in the past, those follow a pattern, and we can see that pattern today. First of all, what causes them? Well, it's not what we think, that innovation is incremental and linear. In fact, these periods of great innovation come as a result of a convergence of changes in the world and technology. And when those come together, the converging effect and the cumulative effect over time accelerates change and moves us forward. These times, just as we're having today, were preceded by periods of tension, conflict, division, and suffering, always. So when this happens, as painful as it is, it signals to us something big is coming, which is what's happening right now. Now, in our case, you could say COVID was a time of great suffering and fear and concern, but look what's coming after. And polarization, as painful as polarization is. Tension between opposites creates a tension to resolve, or a tension for compromise, or a tension for innovation. And always these periods are followed by a long period of prosperity. Usually kind of like a slingshot effect. If you think about it, that tension pulls and pulls, and then whoosh, off we go. There'll be new problems. One thing that everyone should expect is, just because we're innovating and there are going to be great new things we'll be able to do as human beings, at the same time they'll bring new problems. That is simply what life is, because again, the problems create a tension, and that tension is how we innovate. Another thing that's important is to understand is that change has direction. Often when I'm speaking doing public speaking, people will say, boy, it just feels, things feel chaotic. That's the way we feel, but that's not really the way it is. Change has direction. It's headed somewhere. And again, if we look back, we can see what some of those directional drivers are. First of all, as human beings, we like to make things faster, more efficient, and using less labor to do it. Second, we like to understand life so we can extend it and improve it. We like to take the impossible and make it possible. It just fires us up if somebody says something is impossible. History has always had proven that we continually democratize as a reason for innovation. And that goes back to the beginning of time, before the word democratize or the concept probably even existed. What that means is to take something, to innovate, in order to take something that's available only to a few people, to make it available to many people, and ultimately make it available to everyone as a commodity. A good example is the printing press. Before we had printed books, the movable type printing press, books were handmade, very expensive, so the only people who could afford them were royalty, the extremely wealthy, and the clergy. But then Mr. Gutenberg invented the movable type printing press, and in only 50 years we had 9 million books in Europe at a time when Europe wasn't that populated. And that led to other democratizing innovations. Literacy. If there are books, more people wanted to read. And then to public education. And we can see democratization at work today in retail, in entertainment, in travel, in creative content. And that's just the beginning. What you really need to understand about democratization is that over the next few decades, every company, every product, every service will be democratized around a set of about 6 principles. Innovation is at risk. So I've talked here in this little short discussion about how important innovation is, how it's improved and lifted the quality of life more than anything else. You would think and hope it would be guaranteed, but it's not. Nothing in life's guaranteed. Innovation is indeed the goose that consistently lays the golden egg. But many people don't really associate their quality of life or their financial prosperity with innovation. And it's terribly important that we do. If you have a pension, you can guarantee that some portion of that pension is being invested in companies who are innovators and have promises of great innovation. And you get a financial return for that in addition to the fact that you get to enjoy the product or service. Few people today, unfortunately, are aware that there are policies, regulations, and tax structures that will either make us more innovation or they'll dampen or destroy innovation. And it's really important that we all take a responsibility to make sure that we have an innovative society. Many people are reflexively fearful of innovation and really need to work on looking at it as it's bringing something new into the world for a reason, and most of the time it's something good. It always brings, unfortunately, negative consequences, but that doesn't mean we should ever stop innovating. We also have to remember that the United States is the most innovative country in the world by a long shot. If you travel around the world as I have, and you talk to entrepreneurs, you'll learn it's very difficult in most other countries. We have a real entrepreneurial infrastructure, financing, regulatory environment that really causes us to be able to innovate and to foster innovation. We have a culture that celebrates innovation and innovators. And many people seek careers in innovative companies because they like being part of that important process. We each have a responsibility to make sure that innovation remains something that the United States is known for, proud of, and that we do better than anyone else. And you can help because you can be a spokesperson to your family, your community, to schools, your job. You can talk about these very things I'm talking about. There's no magic here. And you can yourself unleash your own creativity and innovate anytime you get a chance. Trust in your ability to innovate. What we can do in this next period, this time of great innovation, is we can actually democratize human potential. We can make sure that every human being gets a chance to reach for their own potential, wisdom, and making wise decisions. We can revolutionize how we learn, live, and work. I hope you've enjoyed this little trip through the land of innovation and found it helpful to you. I know it was really surprising and really encouraging for me to realize the important role it's played in the life we live, and more importantly, in the life we're going to live. Thank you.